We are absolutely drowning in stories. They're everywhere. But let's be honest, how many of them, even the ones with massive budgets and incredible special effects, actually make you feel anything deep down? Well, there's a certain philosophy of writing that says the real secret weapon for emotional power isn't some clever trick. It's actually a huge, and kind of scary, shift in the writer's whole approach.
You know the feeling I'm talking about. You're watching a scene that's supposed to be heartbreaking, the music is swelling, the actors are crying their eyes out, and you're just sitting there, feeling absolutely nothing. You're a spectator, completely disconnected from what's happening on screen. So why does this happen so often?
The source we're digging into today, Screenwriting for Christians, has this fantastic term for this phenomenon, emotional armor. And it makes so much sense, right? It argues that we, the modern audience, have seen it all. We've seen every kind of heroic sacrifice, every tearful goodbye. We've become so savvy to the usual bag of tricks that they just bounce right off us.
So if all the old tricks don't work anymore, what does? How can a storyteller actually punch through that armor and create something that's genuinely moving? That is the big question, and we are going to unpack the answer.
The answer, according to this way of thinking, isn't a new kind of plot twist or a shocking reveal. It's a radical shift inside the writer. It means we have to trade our obsession with being clever for something way more powerful and, frankly, a whole lot scarier: vulnerability.
Let's just break this down. On one side, you've got cleverness. And yeah, cleverness is impressive. It's the witty banter or the intricate plot that makes you think, wow, that writer is smart. But on the other side, you have vulnerability, and that is what transforms an audience. It's that moment where a writer stops performing and dares to put a piece of their own fear, their own brokenness, into the heart of the story. And that is the difference between earning admiration and creating a real connection.
This quote just nails it, doesn't it? Audiences don't really connect with perfection. They connect with the cracks, the struggles, the messy, human parts. They're not looking for a flawless hero they can admire from a distance. They're looking for a mirror. They're looking for a reflection of themselves.
This shift completely flips the creative process on its head. The question is no longer, what would be cool or what's edgy? The question becomes, what is true? The writer has to be willing to mine their own life for a moment of genuine breaking and genuine healing, and then inject that emotional DNA right into their characters.
But okay, how do you actually take that raw, personal truth and shape it into a compelling story that works? Well, this philosophy gives us a clear blueprint for building these authentic character arcs. It's like a map for the journey from brokenness to real transformation.
In this journey, it has a very specific shape. It starts with brokenness. This is a core lie the character believes about themselves or the world. Something like, I'm only worthy if I'm strong. Then, life comes along and tests that lie again and again, pushing against that deep wound until they hit a breaking point. That's the shattering, where their entire way of coping just utterly fails. And it's only from that rock bottom that they can find true transformation, which isn't just a change in what they do, it's a fundamental change in who they are.
Now here's where the source we're looking at introduces its own specific theological idea. While most screenwriting books would just call this a character arc, this framework calls it the path of sanctification. So what this does is reframe the character's journey as something deeper than just emotional growth. It sees it as a moral and spiritual transformation.
This all sounds really good in theory, but what does it actually look like in practice? Let's put these ideas to the test with a case study. We'll break down one of the most powerful emotional scenes in modern film and see exactly how it earns every single tear.
We're talking, of course, about that scene from Good Will Hunting, the "it's not your fault" scene. I mean, the setup couldn't be simpler, right? It's just two men talking in an office. But the emotional impact is absolutely legendary. So why? What is it that makes this quiet little moment so unbelievably powerful?
The source argues that its power comes down to 4 things. First, the moment is earned. This isn't on page 3 of the script, it's on page 103. We spent the entire movie watching Will's defenses. Second, it's surprising. Will is coiled up, ready for a fight, and instead, he gets grace. It's the last thing he expects. Third, it's surgically specific. Sean doesn't say, "it's okay." He says the exact phrase Will needs to hear.
over and over until it lands. And finally, it's transformative. When Will finally breaks, we don't just feel sad for him, we feel his freedom. We feel the release.
This whole idea of earning your emotion leads us to another really powerful concept from the source. It's the idea that the most profound truths in a story aren't spoken, they're seen. This is what it calls visual theology, using the camera itself to preach a sermon without a single word.
Here's a perfect example of how that works. On the one hand, a character can just tell us, "I feel abandoned," and okay, we get the information. But on the other hand, we can see a man eating alone at a dinner table that's set for 5 people. We don't just know he's lonely, we feel the empty chairs. We feel the weight of his loss in that one single image. The visual does all the heavy lifting.
This kind of visual storytelling often relies on simple, powerful symbols that we all universally understand. You know, things like water suggesting renewal, or light representing revelation, or even just a closed door that symbolizes a huge choice. Think about it. A character stepping out of a dark shadow and into one single sliver of light can say more about their internal transformation than a whole page of dialogue.
And ultimately, this is what the audience takes home with them. People forget long speeches, they forget monologues, but they remember moments. The real emotional impact, the stuff that sticks with us, comes from these carefully crafted visual beats. Those moments of action, of silence, of symbolism that stay with you long after the movie is over. So we have the writer's vulnerability, the character's journey, and the visual language of the camera. But this philosophy has one last, kind of mind-bending idea about who a story is truly for. It suggests there's a final character you have to write for, and it is not who you think. The final character is the audience. It's you. Let that sink in for a second. Every scene, every moment isn't just about moving the plot forward. It's about creating a mirror. The ultimate goal isn't just to show us a transformation on screen. It's to invite the person watching to experience their own potential for it. The real question becomes, will this story make someone feel seen? Will it give them hope? And to build that bridge to the audience, the source gives us this emotional toolbox. These are really practical techniques. You've got things like a callback, which gives an old line brand new meaning. Stark contrast between joy and sorrow. Powerful understatement, where what's not said speaks volumes. Or an object anchor, taking an everyday item, like Wilson the volleyball in Castaway, and loading it with so much meaning it becomes a character itself.
But here's the most important reminder of all. All these tools we've just talked about, the blueprint, the symbols, the techniques, they're all completely useless without that one thing we started with. If your story doesn't have a soul, if it isn't grounded in a vulnerable personal truth from the writer, then everything else is just noise.
And so that leaves us with one final, pretty challenging question. And it's not just for storytellers, it's for all of us. This whole philosophy suggests that the very thing you're most afraid to write about, the personal truth you're most hesitant to even look at, that is precisely where your most powerful, most moving story is just waiting for you to find it.